Welcome to a brand new episode of the Jampack Report today for August the 24th of 2020. Of course, my name is Samuel Adams, and this is a daily gaming news podcast meant to bring you the hottest news you need to know from around the industry. Hosted on YouTube and podcast services around the world 5 days a week, it is your one-stop shop for everything you need to know. So if you enjoy the show and you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and keep coming back for more. But to start off today's show, we have the return of a story we've been talking about for a very long time. It looks like a new version of the Nintendo Switch could launch in 2021. This, of course, is according to a report from the Economic Daily News, as reported on via VGC, and this new version of the Nintendo Switch will enter production later this year and is set to launch at retail in the first quarter of 2021. The report, which claims to be informed by sources in the console supply chain, says that the new version of the Nintendo Switch will feature improved interactivity and a better quality display. There are no suggestions as to the power of the hardware, so it is unclear if this is a Pro-like update with more powerful internals. But rumors of an enhanced Nintendo Switch began in 2019 and were sparked up again earlier this year. Nintendo extinguished the flames by announcing that it had no plan to release a new Nintendo Switch in 2020, but said nothing about a new console in the following year. It is worth noting that initial Wall Street Journal report also correctly predicted the launch of the Nintendo Switch Lite, so perhaps the predicted more powerful Switch may finally be set to make a real appearance next year. This is going to be an interesting one to follow because this is an incredibly wise decision if Nintendo does choose to go this route. Because currently, with the current console generation, the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One are already quote-unquote losing to the Nintendo Switch in terms of sales quarter after quarter because, quite frankly, the Xbox and PlayStation are at the end of their line and the Nintendo Switch is still going strong in the middle of its life cycle. Now, if you were to pit the Nintendo Switch against the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X this holiday, it still holds a very solid chance to be the best-selling console, because it is, number one, more affordable, and number two, it's got an established line of exclusives that you cannot play anywhere else. So it is going to be a much more enticing gift to be given by your grandparents, your friends, whatever it might be. But on top of that, it's just more affordable in general, and a lot of third-party games are already coming to the Nintendo Switch, so I think it's going to have a very good holiday 2020. But looking into the future, it starts to beg the question of, can the Nintendo Switch compete with the likes of the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, and on top of that, can developers continue porting their games to the Nintendo Switch because of its lack of power, especially as compared to the next generation of hardware, where the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X are on par with, if not more powerful, than a lot of leading gaming PCs, and the Nintendo Switch cannot hold a flame to that. So I'm not saying this is going to be the beefed up, powerful Xbox Series X competitor that people want from Nintendo. It's not going to be nearly as powerful as the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X, quite frankly, because it doesn't have to be. This is Nintendo. They're going to have people there to play it regardless. But I do think it's going to be a much more high-quality piece of hardware if it does end up becoming a reality, but we will have to wait and see what comes in early 2021. If we were to get any kind of news, I would say it's probably going to be within the next couple of months or so. That seems to be the Nintendo way. But what a strange time to be a console player right now. You have 2 months out, even perhaps less, until the new generation consoles come out, and we still don't know the price point of the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X, nor the release date. And on top of that, Nintendo could be launching a new piece of hardware towards Q1, and we don't even know what that is yet. Wild times. And again, this could all be derailed by production, interruptions from COVID-19. Who knows what could happen between now and the time this thing is supposed to hit stores. But moving on, the new Batman game is called Gotham Knights, and it is out next year. Today, during DC's FanDome online event, writes the author on Saturday, Warner Bros. Montreal finally revealed Gotham Knights, the long-rumored and previously teased next big Batman game, and it will be released next year. After the apparent death of Batman, a group of heroes steps up to fill the hole left by the absence of Batman. The group of heroes is made up of Batgirl, Nightwing, Red Hood, and Robin. Gotham Knights is being developed by WB Games Montreal. The studio's last game was Arkham Origins, a prequel to the Rocksteady-developed Batman Arkham games. In gameplay footage also released today, we see Batgirl facing off against Mr. Freeze and fighting off various thugs. The entire game can be played alone or in two-player co-op, and here's how WB Games describes the game, which sounds a lot like the same kind of games as a service setup. They write, in Gotham Nights, players can explore the open-world action of Gotham and patrol the dark streets of the city's 5 distinct boroughs using a variety of traversal abilities and heroic combat moves, as well as the iconic Bat Cycle. As Batgirl, Nightwing, Red Hood, and Robin progress, their distinctive gameplay skills will evolve, along with a growing arsenal of weaponry and gear. WB Games also told Kotaku that Gotham Knights is an original story and not connected to the Arkham games, and it is going to be coming out sometime in 2021 on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and PC. Now, before we talk about this game, this is not to be confused with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which is another game that was revealed during the same DC FanDome event. After a few weeks of teases, developer Rocksteady Games announced Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League during a panel at DC FanDome. The Lego Batman movie actor Will Arnett hosted the reveal on Saturday, which consisted of a pre-rendered trailer and a Suicide Squad interview with Arnett. In the trailer, Rocksteady showed off a bunch of characters that will appear in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, including Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Boomerang, and King Shark. Also, Evil Superman appears in the sky and blasts a pilot to bits. Of course, that's because the Suicide Squad has to kill the Justice League. The trailer shows a decimated Metropolis seemingly overtaken by a big bad Brainiac. Publisher Warner Bros. Interactive calls Rocksteady Suicide Squad an action-adventure shooter with 1 to 4 player co-op. Sefton Hill, Rocksteady creative director, said players are not locked into their particular characters while playing either. They will be able to take over AI-controlled squad mates whenever they would like. Hill also said the game is a continuation of the Batman Arkham franchise universe. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is expected to arrive in 2022 on the PlayStation 5, the Windows PCs, and Xbox Series X. Now, the article from Polygon goes deeper into the history of the teases and whatnot, but it is worth mentioning this game is still a very long way out. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is slated for 2022, and as such, we just got a rendered CGI trailer. No gameplay to be seen as of yet. So, this is one that I personally, if I were a fan or a potential player, would put on ice. This is one that I want to wait a good bit before you make any reservations on, but Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League looks like it could be a very good time, and certainly one that is interesting to say the least, where you have to play as the Suicide Squad taking out Superman and presumably the rest of the Justice League, as they have been, I suppose you could say, possessed by Brainiac. But we will see how this one continues to shape up, and again, slated for 2022. But back to Gotham Knights. This one looks like the game that a lot of people are in the mood for currently, if I did have to make any kind of guess. This is one that looks like it is mimicking, in a way, the combat and the playstyle of the Batman Arkham Knight, Arkham City kind of setup, and that's what gets me excited. Now, I was very concerned off the bat because as a single player gamer, I'm not really a big fan of co-op being pushed on me. I don't mind finding a group to play with. I don't mind trying to wrestle up some people online that want to get into a game, but primarily I don't like talking when I play games. I don't like, communicating over a headset. I don't like having to do a lot of teamwork. I just kind of like playing games. And so to hear that the game is entirely playable in single player is something that is nice and welcoming to me, because immediately your mind goes to 4-player co-op, and that doesn't even seem to be an option right now. So it seems like the setup that they're trying to go with here is that each of the players can switch back and forth between all 4 of these heroes. So if you have one person playing as Batgirl, you've got 3 other options for the second player and vice versa, which sounds like a pretty solid setup, and everybody can kind of get a feel for which of these heroes they like the best. But I am very excited about this one. I think it's going to look phenomenal, and I do look forward to diving into it whenever it does come out sometime in 2021. But now an update on the big Fortnite battle between Epic Games and Apple, as well as other people like Google and now Microsoft, which has thrown its weight behind Epic in the big battle with Apple. Recently, Epic dropped a bit of a bombshell by knowingly violating Apple's App Store policies, leading not only to its popular game Fortnite being removed from iOS devices, but Epic Games' entire Apple developer fell in jeopardy as well, threatening the Unreal Engine SDK itself. Epic clearly knew what it was doing since it had an entire viral marketing campaign prepped for being removed from the Apple App Store, while also signing up a very powerful legal team aimed at taking Apple to court, pressing them to remove or at least alter their 30% cut or in-app purchases for developers on its store. Today, Microsoft itself joined the fight, issuing a statement in court on why it thinks Apple is being heavy-handed and how Apple's behavior could threaten Microsoft's own games on iOS, such as Forza Street. Head here to read the full court filing issued by Microsoft General Manager, Gaming Developer Experiences, Kevin Gale. They say, quote, Epic Games' Unreal Engine is critical technology for numerous game creators using Microsoft. Game engines provide creators with a development environment that delivers the necessary graphics, rendering, physics, sound, networking, and other technologies that enable them to build games that run on multiple platforms. B. Although some large game creators choose to develop their own proprietary game engines, many others, including small and independent game creators, utilize game engines built by and licensed from third parties. C. Many of these creators do not have the resources or capabilities to build their own game engines and rely on the availability of third-party game engines, while other creators may choose to use third-party game engines to save development costs and utilize already developed technologies. D. As a result, Epic's Unreal Engine is one of the most popular third-party game engines available to game creators, and in Microsoft's view, there are very few other options available for creators to license with as many features and as much functionality as Unreal Engine across multiple platforms, including iOS. Microsoft has an enterprise-wide multi-year Unreal Engine license agreement and has invested significant resources and engineer time working with and customizing Unreal Engine for its own games on PC, Xbox consoles, and mobile devices, including those on iOS. For example, Microsoft's racing game Forza Street is currently available on iOS and utilizes Unreal Engine. Denying Epic access to Apple's SDK and other development tools will prevent Epic from supporting Unreal Engine on iOS and macOS, and will place Unreal Engine and those game creators that have built, are building, and may build games on it at a substantial disadvantage. Microsoft was in its own spat with Apple's gaming policies recently, since the firm blocked Project xCloud on iOS for arguably dumb reasons. With Apple already being investigated by antitrust regulators across the world for its behavior, it will be interesting to see how Epic's court battle may factor into any future legislation targeting Apple. And so the plot thickens. Again, you have people that are going head-to-head with Apple in a very significant way that could have huge implications for the future of the gaming industry as we know it, and really the tech sector overall. Because although Apple, again, is a company that has every right to do with their storefront what they will, it is a very powerful entity in today's day and age, and to control one specific group and to limit what people are able to do on their platform is certainly one that could be a move that is brought under scrutiny. So again, I will keep you guys up to date on everything happening with the Fortnite versus Epic, all that mess, because it just continually devolves into a bigger and bigger headache that lawyers are going to have to parse through. But very interesting, to say the least. Moving on, Halo Infinite could drop its Xbox One version. It has been claimed. Xbox is considering dropping the Xbox One version of Halo Infinite following its recent delay that has been claimed. This is according to mod-verified Reset-era user Sponger, who has previously leaked accurate details on first-party Xbox games. According to the insider, developer 343 Industries is struggling to achieve performance above 900p on the oldest Xbox One S console, which has led it to consider making the shooter a next-gen only title following its recent delay. If true, dropping the Xbox One version would represent a break from Xbox's heavily promoted cross-gen release strategy. Microsoft had previously claimed that all first-party Xbox titles for the next couple of years would release on both Xbox One and Xbox Series X, although it recently announced several next-gen exclusives. VGC has contacted Microsoft for comment on the story and will update if and when they receive a response, but the leaker says, quote, the current version of Halo Infinite on Xbox One S is nowhere near 1080p or even lower than 900p and is having serious asset loading issues, much worse than you've seen on the PC demo, the user wrote. The idea is to change at the engine level how assets load, make RT as default, improve/unlock some assets, improve geometry, post-processing, and add more CPU-bound interactivity. Furthermore, it is claimed Microsoft has not ruled out pushing Infinite beyond 2021 if the game would benefit. It's pretty messy up there with decisions, but they are convinced that they need to make the best Halo game ever, the user wrote. Microsoft confirmed that Halo Infinite had been delayed into next year earlier this month, and in a statement published on its website, developer 343i said that the decision to delay the game was motivated by multiple factors, including the ongoing impact of COVID-19 on development. Following its gameplay reveal last month, Halo Infinite's visual fidelity faced widespread criticism from the media, fans, and even big brands who highlighted issues with both the game's art direction and the perceived lack of advancement since the last Halo game. 343 Industries had previously acknowledged criticism of the game's graphics and told fans it was taking the feedback very seriously. Following the delay news, head of Xbox Phil Spencer apologized for not hitting expectations, but said he believed the delay was the right decision for Xbox and for Halo. So let's break this down. There's a lot to dig into here. If this is true, and if these allegations are correct that the Xbox One version is holding back the game itself, then it is completely and totally justifiable to cancel the Xbox One version. Because right now, the Xbox One is by far the weakest of the entire Xbox console line in terms of sales and in terms of existing player base. And that's coming from somebody who plays the Xbox One X as the main console currently. This thing is going to need to go if you are going to embrace the full power of the Xbox Series X. And then going back to the sponger quotes that you have here, if they are going for a more CPU heavy approach to how hardware is utilized to make Halo Infinite a reality, then it makes more sense to leverage the entire power of the Xbox Series X and make that happen. Now, this is not going to be a good look on the Microsoft PR team because, again, the biggest portion of the marketing strategy for the Xbox brand as a whole has been the whole play anywhere movement. You can play on the Xbox One, you can play on the Series X, you can play on PC. It's that kind of approach that has gotten them this far in the marketing cycle. And to change that would certainly be jarring, but I think that the majority of players for the long term would completely understand and be able to justify that in their minds, because you want the best game that you can possibly get, and to limit it based on hardware that is already going out of style and that some may argue was never that popular to begin with is certainly a lost cause. Make the game as good as it can be and make the choices that you need to make, even if they are difficult. Now, moving on, as far as the delay out of 2021 and into 2022, that is going to be a very, very big blow for the Xbox brand. But I do have faith that the company is working on getting those third-party exclusives. They're working on getting timed exclusives. And, of course, they are working on games internally with the Xbox Game Studios family. And so I think that there is a lot of potential here still for the Xbox Series X, and there are going to be some incredible experiences, many of which could even be generation shaping, in the same way that you saw a Horizon Zero Dawn emerge from the last generation or a Death Stranding. You could be getting that kind of experience from the Xbox this time around. That gets me very excited. But to push Halo Infinite out of 2021 and into 2022 would be a massive, massive blow, and that is not a choice that they want to take lightly. Certainly going to be one to keep your eye on. And of course, I will keep you in the loop if any news breaks about that in the few months that we have between now and the end of the year. But I still have a feeling this game is going to be coming out in 2021 because the impact of not having a Halo Infinite for 2 years after the release of a new piece of hardware that people are already trying to justify the existence of is certainly a very big blow to the project itself. But in between now and then, you can play Cyberpunk 2077, which will have free DLC alongside paid expansions. The Polish developer replied to a fan on Twitter who asked about the potential for Cyberpunk 2077 to have free DLC like The Witcher 3, which offered an entire roadmap of free content to support the game beyond its initial launch. Responding in kind, CD Projekt Red replied with a gif of the Kool-Aid Man spouting his famous catchphrase, "Oh yeah." Beyond the free DLC, it was previously confirmed back in April of 2020 that Cyberpunk 2077 will feature paid expansions of similar size to those that were available for The Witcher 3, such as Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine. There will be more than just DLC available to complement and flesh out the world of Cyberpunk 2077. A comic book series based on the game's Trauma team is on its way from publisher Dark Horse Comics, and you can check out the full broadcast of Night City Wire Episode 2 to catch up on all the latest news about Cyberpunk 2077. So, this is a fantastic piece of news because, again, free DLC is free DLC for me. I do love not having to buy any kind of season pass or expansion if I don't want to. And for those that do want to buy the season pass, you do get a very robust set of expansions, which have not been detailed in full as of yet. But these free updates keep people coming back to the game, and if you release a very, very good free update, then it could entice people to, pay money to get more of that. So that's a pretty good marketing strategy overall. But I cannot wait to dive into Cyberpunk 2077, which is going to be coming out this November after multiple delays. And at this point it is what it is, but I am looking forward to seeing Cyberpunk hit the storefronts, and I cannot wait to dive in myself. And finally, to round out today's show, Fall Guys is coming to mobile in China, which hopefully means it is coming to the States sooner rather than later. The viral PC and PS4 game Fall Guys is getting a mobile makeover, at least in China, according to games analyst Daniel Ahmad. He tweeted that the Chinese entertainment company Bilibili has won the rights to publish a mobile version of Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout in China. That's backed up by developer Bilibili, which said it will be the exclusive agent for a mobile game called Jelly Bean Ultimate Knockout. So far, nearly 150,000 people have made reservations for the game on iOS and Android. Fall Guys is the viral gaming hit of the year thanks to the cheerful, simple, yet chaotic Battle Royale style gameplay. It is also frustratingly hard to win, which makes it fun to play and very amusing to watch. The game managed to rack up 1.5 million players after just 24 hours and 2 million players on Steam in less than a week. It is not unusual for Chinese companies to take popular platform games like PUBG and make separate mobile versions. Fall Guys in particular seem destined for smartphones as the controls are relatively simple and these sessions are short, ideal for gaming on the move. In fact, rumors of a mobile version popped up recently, complete with gameplay, but Mediatonic squashed it with an amusing tweet. They say, quote, A, they're literally playing a video and pretending to play it, and B, there is literally a mouse cursor on the screen, the company noted. At the same time, Mediatonic has said that we would love to bring the game to other platforms down the road. It has yet to confirm the news, however, and there is no word yet on when a mobile version of Fall Guys might arrive in China or elsewhere. So it looks like this is going to be a bit of a wait, but I do hope that the game comes to phones soon because this seems like the free-to-play icon that could be the next big title on your mobile device. If you are able to charge for skins and monetize this in some way, it's already so popular and so viral that even people that don't play games are looking to Fall Guys. It is just a fun, lighthearted, quirky game. And so it looks like this one is going to be making its way overseas, but we will see if it ever makes its way to our phones here in the States and in other areas of the world. But that rounds out today's episode of the Jampack Report. If you enjoyed this one, drop me a like down below and let me know what you think about everything we talked about here today. But specifically, how do you feel about a brand new Nintendo Switch making its way to your household or your car, wherever you want to play, sometime early next year? Would love to hear your thoughts on that or anything else we talked about today. But until tomorrow, you guys have a fantastic rest of your night. I'll talk to you soon, and peace.